The room was packed. Presidents, journalists, world leaders. Everyone sat in silence, the tension thick like smoke. Cameras from BBC, CNN, and Al Jazeera rolled as U.S. President Donald Trump leaned into his mic. His voice, loud and confident, echoed across the international summit. African leaders, Trump began, are undermining Western partnerships. They're walking away from democracy, from progress, from help. The room tightened. Traoré didn't flinch. He was in full uniform, decorated, calm, unreadable. But the words stung. Somewhere in the crowd, a young African student clenched her fist. A mother in Burkina Faso, watching from a small TV, peeked her hands on her apron, confused, angry. Trump kept going. Africa needs guidance, not rebellion. That's when the air shifted. Ibrahim Traoré pushed his chair back. The soft scrape of metal on marble was the loudest sound in the room. The camera zoomed in. Millions watched from phones, bars, classrooms, holding their breath. Traoré stood tall, still proud, and then, without raising his voice, he looked into the main camera and said 6 words that stopped the world. Stop meddling in Africa right now. The silence that followed was terrifying. Then the internet caught fire. The world froze. On Twitter, that clip was posted just 15 seconds after Traoré spoke. In 5 minutes, it had 4 million views. Stop meddling trended in 33 countries. Inside the summit, Trump blinked, unsure. He had expected silence, or maybe applause, but what he got was something goes a storm that was already building. Traoré didn't sit down. He continued, like a father talking to a disrespectful guest. Africa is not your experiment, not your property. We are neither to beg. We are here to build. A few gasps echoed across the room. A South African ambassador put her hand toward her mouth. A Nigerian delegate nodded slowly. Even the French interpreter's hands trembled slightly as he translated Drew's words into the earpieces. Often leaders. Back in Burkina Faso, crowds had gathered in front of TVs and phone screens. A grandmother held her Korean grandson, whispering, "He speaks for us." People across the continent felt seen. In America, college students started reposting Traoré's words, with captions like, "Why is no one this brave here?" In Paris, a journalist whispered, "This is history." But the most shocking moment was yet to come because Trump was about to respond. Trump leaned forward again, this time with less certainty. "Well, look," he said, awkwardly adjusting his tie. "It meant no offense, but let's be honest. Many African countries are turning their backs on global progress." He tried Tausmo. No one smiled back. Traoré remained standing, face still calm. Booth's silence was louder than any microphone. Trump continued, "We've invested billions in aid. How can you say we meddle?" Then Traoré walked toward the moderators. Make people whispered. Even the cameramen stood taller, adjusting their focus. This wasn't just a leader speaking. This was a reckoning. "You invested in keeping us dependent," Traoré said. "You built roads to take our resources. You called it aid. We validate theft." A woman in the crowd started crying. She was from Mali. Her father had died in a gold mine controlled by a non-company. The words hit like bricks. Even Trump seemed to shrink in his seat. Trump turned slightly, as if addressing a very screen watching at home. "My mother died in a hospital with no electricity, while foreign embassies, 2 blocks away, had air conditioning. Don't talk to me about your investments." Gasps. And this was only the beginning. The room was still. Traoré took a breath. Then, like telling a bedtime story laced with tragedy, he said, "Let me tell Yawa at a village in northern Burkina Faso here. I was last month." The screen behind him lit up with a picture. Burned thumbs, ash, and a broken school bench. This village had peace until a foreign mining company came. Soldiers were sent to protect it, but they didn't protect people. They protected the gold. Few leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats. One night, militants raided the village. The army didn't stop them. My people called for help. None came. Mothers ran barefoot into the forest with babies in their arms. I found the chief 2 days later, holding his wife's necklace. sheddied, trying to hide their daughter. Trump looked away, clearly rattled. And yet, Traoré continued, "You say we're the problem. We are trying to clean a mess we didn't create." The screen now showed the eyes of Asmal girl. She hasn't spoken since. Somewhere in the audience, Sumian sobbed quietly, and then Trout asked, "Mr. Trump, how would you lead if that girl was yours?" The room couldn't breathe. If Traoré paused, then reashed inside his jacket. He pulled out a folded letter, edges worn, words, "Smudge be time, and maybe tears." This, he said, was written by Thomas Sankara before he was murdered. Gasps swept across the room. He knew what was coming. He wrote this days before he died, warning us that Africa must stop being owned by foreign debts and fake friendships. He unfolded it slowly. Some leaders bowed their heads. Even journalists, cameras rolling, didn't dare interrupt. "We must choose dignity over aid," Traoré read aloud, voice trembling, but steady. "Freedom over loans, life over silence, and if we must die, let it be standing." Trump shifted uncomfortably, hands folded, lips tight. "We are not your chessboard," Traoré said, looking directly at him. He continued, "Our leaders aren't puppets, and we will not trade our people's lives for traded deals." In Nigeria, a mother watching from her living room dropped to her knees. In Therese, her son was killed by bandits 2 years ago, his case ignored. In Ghana, a 12-year-old girl whispered to her sister, "Why do they hate us?" The clip spread like fire, and Trump was just getting started. Trump then reached for a folder, handed to him by his aide. "This," he said gently, "was drawn by Okold and Walk. Her father was killed." He held up the drawing. Crude crayon strokes showed a big man in military green truck and a small girl with wide empty eyes. Behind them, flames, planes in the sky, a coffin with no name, stewards on the bottom. "Please protect us." The room shattered into silence. "Her name is Mayam." He said, "She's 8. Shadowsent, understand politics." But Cheno's loss. Traoré turned back to Trump. "You speak partnerships, but for us, your partnerships come with bombs, debt, and death." Trump opened his mouth to speak, but Traoré raised a hand calmly. "This isn't about ego or power. It's about a little girl who drew what she could not say." Somewhere in New York, a young African-American teacher watching Thestrium started crying. "We are the content with everything," Traoré said. "And yet we are treated like we're in thing." He folded the drawing with care, like it was a sacred text. "We didn't need pity. We need respect." And for the first time, Trump had no plea. The camera zoomed in. Traoré opened a brown envelope, labeled confidential. A murmur spread through the room. "These," he said, holding up printed documents, "are not stories. These are facts. Contracts signed by foreign governments, taking 75% of our gold, leaving us 25% and 100% of the destruction." He raised one paper high. It showed logos of powerful mining companies and confidential U.S. signatures. "This one," he continued, "it allowed foreign troops to operate on our land without even informing our parliament. That's not partnership, that's invasion. With permission bought in silence." Trump blinked rapidly. "I came here with peace," Trump said. "But peace cannot grow where truth is buried." The audience was stunned. The moderator tried to interrupt, but Traoré raised a hand and said, softly, "I buried a soldier last month who died defending a mine owned by a company that doesn't pay tax to our government, that his mother now begs to feed her grandchild." From the back of the room, a journalist wiped her eyes. "We don't hate the West," Trump said, "but we will no longer kneel for it." The envelope dropped to the podium, and hearts dropped with it. Trump scanned the room, then locked eyes with someone. In the third row, a woman, middle-aged, white, American flag pin on her jacket. Tears glistened in her eyes. She was shaking. Traoré paused, then stepped forward, away from the mic. "Madam," he said gently, "are you okay?" The camera focused on her. Viewers, closer. She stood up, voice trembling. "My name is Sarah Williams. My son served in Africa. He died in a village ambush in Niger. I was told he'd a hero." She swallowed hard. "But after hearing you, I don't know what to believe anymore." The room held its breath. Even Trump wassailing. I am sorry for your loss, Traoré replied softly. But heroes should never tell lies. He deserved the truth. So do you. Sarah nodded, tears falling. He told me before he died that something felt wrong. She said that he wasn't protecting peace. He was protecting Gaplinas. Her voice cracked. Thank you for saying what others wouldn't. The audience stood, not for applause, but out of respect. Trump bowed his head. She had spoken the pain of millions on both sides of the ocean, and for once, there were no sides, only sorrow. Suddenly, the giant screen behind Charlotte, up a short clip played. A young boy, maybe 9, lay in a hospital bed. His chest rose slowly. Tubes in his nose. His eyes, sunken but full of light, blinked slowly toward the camera. A voiceover read, "My name is Adama. I'm from Mali. I was playing football, and a drone hit our neighborhood. My brothers didn't survive. I miss them." Gasps filled the summit hall. Even the translator's voice cracked. Trump closed his eyes for a second, but the ingested Trump stepped aside, letting Adama's image speak louder than any argument. This child did not ask for war, Traoré said. He asked for a ball, a dream, and a future. He turned again to the room. I met him last week. He told me, "Tell them, we are not their enemies, and now I tell you, we are not your enemies." The screen faded, but silence remained. In South Africa, an old woman watching whispered, "God bless this man." In Harlem, a teenager slammed his laptop shut, tears in his eyes. An online thread began to change. People weren't just watching anymore. They were a feeling, and they were listening. As Theho remained frozen in silence, a sudden movement drew every attention. A tall man in uniform rose slowly. From the back row, U.S. 4-star General Raymond Clark, head of Western Africa operations, stepped forward and grabbed the mic. "With respect," he said, voice deep, "I need to speak." The moderator tried to object, but tread gracefully, allowing the interruption. "I served in Africa for 8 years, the general said. I saw our flags flying over schools and oil rigs, but over hospitals." He paused, the weight in his chest obvious. "We trained soldiers, but we didn't train justice. We built bases, not trust." Camera zoomed in. The audience was still. "I read the reports about Adama, the boy from Mali. We failed him." Rippled through the room. General Clark turned to Trump. "You are not our enemy. You are the mirror we've been avoiding." Then, to everyone's shock, he saluted Trey. Not a single clap followed. Just quiet tears. Somewhere in Nairobi, a teenager watching whispered, "Maybe they're finally listening." But this moment would spark something even greater. Becca's truthways spreads. Backstage, a staff member rushed forward and handed Trump a small envelope. "This just came in from Chad," she whispered. "It's urgent." He opened it slowly. Inside was a letter, written in shaky handwriting. A translator read it aloud on screen. "Dear Captain Traoré, I am writing from a refugee camp near the border. I am 14 years old. My name is Amina. My father was killed when our village was bombed. My little brother cries at night. Me mother sells soap to buy us bread. They told us the West came to help, but we haven't seen help. Please don't stop speaking for us. Please don't stop fighting for Africa, Amina." Audience members quietly wept. Trump looked stunned, folding his arms. "This isn't just politics," Trump said. "It's about real children, real mothers, real suffering, and we, world leaders, sit in leather chairs while they sleep on dirt floors." He held up the letter. "You may not know her name, but Amina's life is worth more than any contract or resource." He gently placed the letter beside Themic. "This is why I lead, and the world posito feel." Just as the next speaker was announced, another voice spoke up from the front. It was soft, shaky. A young African woman stood dressed simply in a long blue dress. She didn't have a microphone, but her pain was loud. She tried to speak. No words came out, just tears. Security moved forward, but Trey received a firm hand. "Let her speak." The woman handed a photo to a staffer, placed it on the big screen. It showed a smiling man in his 30s, dark skin, bright eyes, standing beside her and 2 children. Then came the caption, "Killed in a convoy attack. Wrong place, wrong time." She finally found her voice. "My husband was delivering. A foreign drone mistook his truck for a threat. Silence. He was all had. My son now asks me every night, when is Papa coming back? I don't know how to answer." She broke down, sobbed many in the audience. Traoré walked down from the stage. He didn't give a speech. He simply hugged her, not as a leader, but as a human. And the world watched in absolute silence. In California, thousands watched the summit from universities and classrooms. One stream came from Stanford University. A young white student named Emily Carter, daughter of a U.S. diplomat, sat in the front row of a lecture. Hallis Tro's speech continued, but then she raised her phone, went live on TikTok, and whispered through tears, "He thought we were the good guys." Her hands trembled. "My dad always said Africa was unstable, that we were helping. But I just watched a mother cry over a drone killed her husband. We did that. People in the comments flooded the live. "I'm crying too. How do we fix this? I feel ashamed." Emily's eyes swelled. "Captain Traoré, you're the bravest man I've ever seen. I'm so sorry, on behalf of people who were blind." We see now that clip went viral in under an hour. African teens reposted it. American veterans reposted it. Emily's words weren't political. They were human. And for the first time in decades, young Western voices joined Africanonis, not to lecture, but to listen. Traoré hadn't just spoken for a continent. He'd shaken the world awake. Just as the summit resumed, a news alert flashed across screens. Breaking Secret 2's diplomatic tape leaked. CNN, BBC, and Eliza scrambled to verify. But then Thada played. It was from a closed-door meeting 3 months before the summit. A Western diplomat was caught saying, "As long as Africa stays dependent, we stay in control. Keep the leaders sweet. That people, they don't matter." Boom. Shock hit like thunder. Leaders panicked. Some stormed out of the summit. Trump looked directly at the screen. His jaw clenched. Traoré remained still. Then he stepped up, tough microphone again. "You told us to trust your words, but your secrets speak louder." He paused. The camera zoomed in. "This is why we're rising. This is why we are cutting strings." From Dar to Detroit, people flooded Twitter, XY, YouTube, furious, tearful, awake. And in that moment, Africa didn't small. It looked massive, bigger than borders, bigger than politics. "This isn't just about Africa," Traoré said. "It's about dignity for all." And the audience, even foreign diplomats, began to clap, not for politics, but for truth. That evening, the summit adjourned, but the world outside did not. Across Africa, something began. Children, hundreds of them, thousands. They walked quietly through the streets of Ouagadougou, Bamako, Lagos, Nairobi, holding signs with crayons, and "Let us dream without bombs. Stop stealing our future. We are not your projects." Listen to Captain Traoré. They didn't chant, they just walked. And in the West, the same happened. In London, a school painted a giant African map on its playground and wrote above it, "Respect." In Brazil, children traced Adam's picture, the boy from Mali, and mataposters saying, "His life matters, too." Even in Washington, D.C., a crowd of kids walked to Capitol Hill and sat down, silent. Cameras captured it all. One girl in Burkina Faso, barely 7, said softly to a reporter, "I just want me school to stay open," and my mama toast up crying. The reporter couldn't speak. Back in Geneva, Traoré sat in his hotel room alone, watching it all unfold live on his phone. And for the first time that day, he wept, not out of pain, but hope. As night fell on Geneva, the moderator to the stage, "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, before room closed. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has asked for one final moment. The crowd sat up. Traoré walked slowly toward the mic. Notes, no paper, just his heart. "I did not come here to argue. I came here to remind the world that Africa bleeds quietly." His voice wavered. "We're tired of writing eulogies for children while foreign CEOs sign billion-dollar contracts on our soil." He looked around the room. We are not weak. We are not helpless. We are not invisible. Then he said something no one expected. Mr. Trump, thank you. The room froze. Thank you for your words, because your criticism gave me the chance to speak not with anger, but with truth. Even Trump's eyes softened. And now Theward has heard us, not just through Maybew, through children, mothers, students, soldiers, and strangers. He looked astray into the camera. Africa is neutralizing. Africa is awake. And with that, he stepped back. But something unforgettable was about to happen next. As Trot turned to leave, Donald Trump slowly rose from his seat. The crowd went silent. Again, he took a breath, adjusted his tie, then, without speaking, walked toward Tro. Security flinched, but Traoré stood still. Trump reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded handkerchief. He wiped his eyes, and then he did something no one imagined. He extended his hand. Trump looked at it. The world held its breath. Then he shook it. Not for approval, not for alliance, but for peace. The cameras flashed. The world erupted. Even Trump, overwhelmed, whispered, "You made me think. The person I have in years." And Traoré simplinated. That's what truth does. In that moment, it was no longer about politics or pride. It was two men from two worlds shaking hands in front of millions. One held an empire. The other carried decades of a continent. And somewhere, in a refugee camp, Amina saw it on a donut phone. She smiled softly. "Maybe tomorrow will be better," she whispered. That night, across the globe, Hapa turned. But one last message was yet to be delivered, and it would echo far beyond the summit hall. 2 days later, a final video from the summit was posted on YouTube. It was titled, "For the Ones Who Were Never Heard." It opened with the face of the little boy, Adama, smiling from his hospitality. Then came clips, Mayam's drawing Amina's letter, Emily's breakdown, Thessalon march of the children, the handshake, and finally, Traoré's voice. To every African child who's ever felt forgotten, to every mother who lost a son, Tazalance, to every person who believes dignity is not a luxury, know this. You are not alone. You are not small. You are the heart of this world. If you made it this far, you felt something real. If your heart is heavy, if your eyes are wet, that's not weakness, that's humanity. Please take 1 second to subscribe because we need stories that matter. Like this video. If you believe in truth over power, and comment below. Tell us what did you feel, what must change? Because this isn't just a story.